Is it in a prime London location? Check. Does it have splendid Georgian architecture? Check. Is the food very fancy and reassuringly expensive? Check. So knowing all this, I like to think that this video has all the makings for YouTube to push out to the widest lot of unsuspecting folk. And alas, here you are, wondering who I am and what I'm doing here. So hello again viewers and welcome back to the channel. So I'm outside Scott's in Mayfair on Mount Street. So despite its pretty much obvious upmarket London appeal to tourists and social media influence alike, Scott's actually was around since the 1850s, feeding the London populace with a variety of shellfish and oysters. And in addition to that, it does have its own fair share of an eclectic mix of anecdotal history to boot. So if you have been enjoying my content and you're new to the channel, then your support would be greatly appreciated, and big thanks to all my existing subscribers and viewers out there to keep this channel going. Okay, so I've decided to film this during a Saturday afternoon as the days are getting shorter, so we'll try and catch some daylight still. And I'm getting rather hungry, so I shall see you all inside by the table. And welcome to Scott's, and I've been presented with a couple of menus here, but this is the food one, and it's rather splendid, very tactile, soaking up, and yeah, feel the lovely velour. Is that velour? Something like that. But I've already fast-tracked what I will be ordering just to save time, but a quick peruse through the menu. Of course, oysters, as it started out as an oyster room many years ago, and a very eclectic selection of, so let's say, the hot spots of where you find the finest oysters. I've seen some of these names before in other high-end establishments. Of course, there's obligatory caviar on the menu as well, a variety of shellfish. They're all very good. Yeah, I'm gonna probably just go for 2 courses for now. The desserts I may decide at the end, depending on how I feel. But there you go. Plenty of choice there. There's meat on the menu as well, so yeah, something for everybody, I would say. Here is a sample of the drinks menu. The actual wine list is behind me, but this is just your general bar offerings. And there is a missing cocktail on here, but I'm going to check later on if they can do it, as it has quite a significant link to the history of Scott's. So watch this space. And I thought I'd just quickly show you the centerpiece of Scott's in Mayfair, the famed ice display with the variety of lobsters on there. Yeah, you certainly won't be bored eating here. So of course here I am, Billy Domate, so I've been sat on the counter section. I did ask for a seat on the end to get a little bit more privacy and not be so much of a nuisance, but they couldn't find one, so I'm kind of in between other diners at the moment, so we'll try to not disturb them. It's very, very busy and buzzy in here, quite close up to other people eating, but not as bad as in Sweetings, thankfully, so there's a little bit more wriggle room this time. And I've just ordered myself a glass of house champagne to kick off proceedings, so I'll just quickly reach for my glass. So on behalf of Scott's, cheers. Apologies, where are my manners? I forgot to actually comment on the champagne itself. So looking at the colour, it's got a rather slightly warm tone to it. So I'm just going to make an educated guess. There's a fair amount of Pinot Noir in there. It's exposed to the dark grape skin to give that little bit more warmth to it. A little nose test. Yeah, lots of biscuits in there. That comes from the fermentation, I'd say even the Chardonnay adds to that effect as well. But yeah, all very good. And the tasting, I had a sip earlier, but I'll remind myself of the how it delivers on the palate. Cheers. Yeah, very dry, very crisp, not too acidic. It's very easy delivery. Yeah, very nice. And the first course has landed, so here we go. It is a shellfish bisque. And you can certainly smell the ocean in this one. It's very pungent and forthright. It looks very intense in terms of, I can tell just by the colour, it's going to be very intense in flavour. It was steaming, so I've had to wait a few minutes for it to cool down. But I'll give it an initial taste now and share my thoughts. Very, very intense. As I said, lovely seasoning, plenty of shellfish, mollusk flavour in there. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So as I'm tucking into this fantastic bisque, I may as well bore you with a little bit of not bore you, but entertain or bore you, depending on where you stand. The history of Scots. So this actual restaurant here in Mayfair was actually launched around 1967, replacing the much older and original restaurant, which was then known as Scott's Oyster and Supper Rooms on Coventry Street in and around Piccadilly Circus. The building itself would then form part of the Trocadero Centre. And then fast forward to present day, it now serves as Wakefield Folks, another branch of Five Guys. Still could be worse. And as mentioned in the intro, Scott's was founded in around the 1850s by one Mr. John Scott, who actually was a fishmonger first and then a restaurateur second. Scott's Oyster and Supper Rooms would become one of the go-to places for seafood in the London area, perhaps rivaling that of the legendary Wilton's restaurant in St James's. Post World War II, Scott's would also become very much a social hotspot if you were in the know. It would even reel in the likes of Ian Fleming in the name of research for his book, invited a pair of captured German naval officers to dine at Scott's with the view that they would share them some intelligence and secrets in exchange for some complimentary alcohol. Unfortunately for the author of 007, he never actually learned anything from the German U-boat officers, as they were reported on and promptly arrested on the spot. And speaking of 007 himself, he too was a fan of Scott's within the James Bond universe, that is. And rumour has it that Ian Fleming discovered the famous dry martini cocktail, shaken and not stirred, during one visit in Scott's. And it's a double event. I've relocated to the end of the counter, which makes it easier for me. And also, the mains has landed, so I just swing my camera around. Here we are. It is haddock and chips, Mayfair style. Yeah, I just thought it would be quite a unique experience to have this kind of humble dish in a very splendid, swanky setting. So the batter does look very crispy. All right, let's cut through it. Yeah, very crispy. And we've got the flaky haddock inside. And so far so good. We've got, of course, side of chips and some tartar sauce. Yeah, very nice. Yes, please. Batter is indeed very crispy. Some of the crispiest I've ever had, I think. The cod, sorry, my apologies. The haddock is very flaky, very delicate, and I really like the vinegar bottle here. I might actually put a little bit on the fish itself. Okay, there we go. It's coming along. And feeling my chips as well. And okay, let's try one of the chips. Very crisp to the touch. Yeah, nice and fluffy also, and perfectly seasoned. All good so far. I forgot to mention the tartar sauce. It's very rich. It's more leaning towards maybe more mayonnaise than a traditional tartar sauce. It's still got the sharpness and the acidity, picking the capers and such in there, but yeah, so it's very rich in terms of in the grand scale of tartar sauces. I'm waffling, aren't I? Of course, the champagne is still. I'm just slowly drinking that one, making that one last. I'm feeling a bit delicate today, so yeah, got to keep the wine consumption down for today, I'm afraid. But it goes very well, and of course they keep topping up the water as well. It's a nice touch. And lovely linen napkins to add that extra elements of comfort and luxury. So as we go back to the current incarnation of Scots, you can see how they try to continue the same dining experience and vibe where the original restaurant left off. And it too has its own fair share of history, and also unfortunately some of it of the bad kind, with the dark memory of back-to-back violent attacks to the restaurant and the diners back in the 1970s. But on a positive note, this place has continued to be very much a social hotspot and attracted the likes of Keanu Reeves, Tom Cruise, and even former US President Bill Clinton, who all have enjoyed dinner or lunch here at Scott's. I don't think I have any room for desserts. I'm struggling in terms of eating at the moment, but I thought I'd quickly just browse through the desserts menu anyway. Ice cream, £5 per scoop. That's incredible. So a selection of rich traditional puddings, as well as your lighter, more sharper sorbets, cheese as well. All the classics are on here, and petit fours as well. And of course, some recommended matching dessert wine and port to wash it all down. Yeah, so this is going to be my pudding for today, and it would be rude not to order the classic gin martini while you're in Scots, as of course it was apparently where the famous drink for James Bond 007 was discovered. Bottoms up. Thankfully, the waiting staff understood my order for a dry martini as it's not on the menu. But just in case they didn't have it on the menu, then thankfully I do have a very firm guide from Ian Fleming himself. I'll just grab my notes and recite his guide. So by Ian Fleming in himself, he says. So Ian Fleming advises, it is extremely difficult to get a good martini anywhere in England. In London, the way to get one is to ask for a double dry martini made with vodka, I think, or gin. The way I get one to suit me in any pub is to walk calmly and confidently up to the bar and speaking very distinctly, ask the barman or bar girl, put plenty of ice in the shaker, pour in six gins and one dry vermouth. Enunciate dry carefully and shake until I tell them to stop. And you know what? I will bear that in mind for later. My friends may raise their eyebrows at me for masquerading as an authority to what is commonly known as the pleasures of the table, but it is a fact that my credentials are rather exceptional. To begin with, I'm not a card-carrying gourmet, although I do own the first edition of Brelat Savarin's Physiologie du Goût, which I opened only once to read a curious passage about aphrodisiacs. And secondly, I pretty much eat and drink anything as long as it tastes good. And finally, and most importantly, I never received a free mouthful of food or drink anywhere in any restaurant in the world. I don't even know the name of many head waiters in London, but I do know the name of the head waiter on the first floor of Scott's. It is Baker, and I know this because he did his very best to have me arrested as a German spy during the war. And no, that isn't a recap of my dining experience at Scott's today. That was actually an excerpt from Ian Fleming's London's Dining Guide, and is a further reminder of how Scott's is deeply entrenched in London's rich and historical dining scene. Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's video, and I've captured enough footage to do this place justice. I think I'm a little bit jaded as well in terms of commentary over food. I was struggling today as well, and I felt a little bit delicate as well because I had a bit of a eventful evening out last night, so do apologise if my performance is a little low par. But if you do still like my content, my channel, then please subscribe, hit the notification bell. Your support would be greatly appreciated. And to all my viewers out there, please engage in the comment section, give me a like to help this channel continue. Okay, so I will be heading back off now to enjoy the rest of the weekend, so I look forward to seeing you again in the next video, which will be hopefully along next week. So take care, folks, and I'll see you all soon.